Good afternoon or good morning or good evening, whatever time of day it is you're watching this video. My name is Nicole with morningchores.com and we're so glad to have you back at our channel. Today we're talking about how to take care and maintain your tomato plants. If you missed our How to Plant Tomato Plants video, I will link that in the description box below, but today's video is an extension of that video. If you've planted tomato plants in your garden, they should be well established in their root systems and growing up and out and have beautiful bright green foliage. So in today's video, I thought I'd talk you through some different tips on how to care and maintain your tomato plants until they start producing tomatoes. The first step in caring and maintaining your tomato plants is weeding. Yes, I said the W word. You have to keep your tomato plants well weeded, and the purpose is you don't want these weeds competing with your tomato plants. You want your tomatoes to live as stress-free of a life as possible, because that means they're going to produce bigger, better, more delicious tomatoes. Yes, there are sprays and chemicals you can use to get rid of the weeds, but we do not advocate that here on this channel because those sprays leave residues on your plants and then on the produce that you eat, and then you ingest those poisonous residues, which is really not good for us or the environment. So I have to steer you away from the sprays. I know they look really easy and convenient, but in the bigger picture, it's really not good for us. So my advice is get out there, get some fresh air and exercise, and weed your garden. What I like to do is commit to 10 to 20 minutes a day. If that's too much for you, just try 5 minutes a day. And whether you're a morning person or you can do it in the evening, but I try to avoid the hottest part of the day because it's really hard to be out there weeding, hunched over with the sun beating down on you. So doing it early in the morning or in the evening is actually very pleasant and nice. So commit to that 5, 10, 20 minutes a day of weeding, and I promise you it will be well worth it. If you have chickens, you can always feed the weeds to your chickens. That's an extra motivation for me to get out of my garden and do some weeding. The next step in caring for your tomato plants is evaluating, and you really should do this with all of your plants in your garden, but what I like to do is every couple of days or so, just take a walk through my garden and look at the plants. How are they looking? How are they doing? Your plant will tell you what it needs. So if it looks really dried out, it needs watered. If it looks wilty, it either got too much sun or maybe even too much water. Another thing that you want to look for is disease, especially with your tomato plants. My plants have already gotten hit with what's called early blight. It's a fungus that comes from the soil. I had it last year and I have it again this year. And this is something that you need to catch early in order to get ahead of it. So as you can see in this clip here, the leaves are yellowing with brown blackish spots. It's always kind of a sad day when you find this on your tomato plants, but I caught it early, so I'm going to try to get ahead of it. Now there are, again, chemicals that you can use to fight against this fungus. The popular one is called Docacil. I could be saying that wrong. I have used it in the past, but again, I'm not a big fan of using chemicals on my plants, so I try to avoid it. There are some organic options, and then there's also all natural options. What I'm currently doing is diluting baking soda and water and rubbing it on the leaves, and then I also made up a spray here. This spray is 1 part apple cider vinegar to 2 parts water, and I added 5 to 10 drops of clove essential oil. And what I do is 1 to 2 times a day, I come out here and I spray the foliage, both the tops of the leaves and underneath, to make sure I'm covering the entire plant. My whole entire goal is to get ahead of this fungus. Now the baking soda water solution actually changes the pH of the plant so the fungus cannot thrive. I cannot guarantee though that the natural methods will stop or even prevent the fungus from continuing to grow. All I think it will really do is slow it down. We will definitely still get some tomatoes on our tomato plants, so I'm not worried about that. They just may not be as successful. That's why it's always really important that you plant more than what you actually need, so that way you can make up the difference in volume. Another important note about early blight is that if you touch leaves that have the fungus on it, you need to wash your hands before you touch another tomato plant that does not have it, because you can spread it with your hands. So make sure that you're washing your hands in between, and if you touch the leaves, don't touch your healthy plants because that is one way it can spread. The next step for caring and maintaining our tomato plants is pruning, and this is a really important one because you can help your plant to grow bigger, better tomatoes. I'm sitting here next to one of my beautiful tomato plants. I like to stay up on my pruning by checking my plants about every other week to see what needs done about it, but I let them go a little bit longer because for the sake of the video, I wanted to show you guys extreme before and afters so you could really see the benefits of pruning. So to get started, you want to just overall evaluate your plant, and then you want to look at the bottom foliage. So we want this tomato plant to grow up and out. And in order to encourage it, we want to get rid of all of this bottom foliage that really just isn't necessary. So all you're gonna do, you can sometimes pinch it off with your fingers, but these are extra thick, so I'm gonna have to use some scissors. And you're just going to cut it off right where it meets with the main stalk, just like that. Once we have the undergrowth pruned, it's now time to prune what's called the suckers. The suckers are these little shoots that grow in between two main stalks. And what we want to do is, since this plant is not producing any tomatoes currently, what we want to do is pinch that sucker right off, just like that. So again, here is the sucker. It's this little growth in between the main stalk and this stalk coming off the main shoot. And again, what we want to do is pinch that right off. Here is a tomato plant that has not been pruned yet. We're going to hit that one up next. And here is the one we just pruned. So as you can see, it looks a lot cleaner, not as busy or crowded, which is also a benefit to pruning. You want good air circulation in between the leaves and the foliage, so this is going to ensure a more successful tomato plant. Now that we've weeded our tomato plants, we've pruned them, it's now time to stake them or cage them. These are the two main choices when it comes to helping your tomato plant stand up off the ground. We don't really want our tomato plants laying on the ground because one, that's going to make it really hard at harvest time for picking the tomatoes, and two, when you have the leaves laying on the soil, it can actually cause some other problems. So you want to get those tomato plants up off the ground as much as possible. And people usually choose staking them or caging them. I've tried both methods and I am a fan of caging. I've done the staking thing. I had 2 summers where I had a tomato farm and I had 1,000 tomato plants, and I did staking because it was more economic. It was more affordable to buy wooden stakes and strings than to buy a bunch of tomato cages. But I will say I like the cages better. I think that they're easier to set up. They take no time at all. You simply unfold them and stick them in the ground. And I think they do a better job at keeping the tomato up off the ground, keeping the foliage up off the ground, and it also makes it easier to pick. I have here my tomato cages, and what I love about these is they collapse down, so they're easy for storage in the off season. And then in order to implement them, you literally just pull them away from each other and it forms a square. So super easy. So let's get these installed. You want to install these when the plant is about 1 foot tall. You can do it when they're shorter, but you don't want to let them get too much taller because then it becomes very difficult to get the cage over the plant. But all you want to do is do your best to center the plant in the middle of the cage, being sure not to damage any of the leaves. And once you feel like you have it in the place you want it, you go ahead and push the sides down and it will stick in the ground. And then from here you can adjust the leaves how you want to make sure that they are being supported where it needs to be supported. The last tip I'd like to share with you today is watering. Your tomatoes love water, but not too much. It's all about a balance, right? Now where I live, we have gotten so much rain that I have had no need to water my garden. But if you're living in a very dry climate, you want to make sure you're watering those tomato plants every single day. When you do water, you want to make sure that you're watering at the roots. You don't want to spray the plants and get the leaves all watery because that could cause some sun damage on your foliage, and we don't want that. So when you do water, you could always put in an irrigation system if you want to go that far, but try to take the hose and take it down low so you're hitting that main stalk and the root system. Now, if tomatoes get too much water, I mean way too much water, it really takes a lot, then the tomatoes themselves will split. So it's all about a fine balance, but overwatering a tomato is really difficult to do. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope that this video helps you have the most successful tomatoes in your garden that you possibly can have. You can also head over to morningchores.com where you'll find all kinds of information on homesteading, gardening, DIY, and much, much more. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.